My intention with this podcast is to teach you all about wealth, abundance, timelines, fifth dimension, energetics, frequency, quantum, alien shit. So when I was 17, my auntie died in a sudden car accident. About a week after that, I was in the car and I looked to the right. There was a spirit that pulled up on a horse. I looked into the mirror and I remember seeing like a demon in my reflection, and I was literally going insane. I had no idea where to go, what to do. Why aren't people talking about this more? I started coaching people out of anxiety and depression because I was really strongly passionate about that. I built my business to multi-six figures with helping people out of trauma because I really wanted to help other people that went through their spiritual awakening that was really fucking felt alone. I wanted to help people transition. My name is Natalie Paterson and this is the Ascension Codes podcast. Calling in all entrepreneurs, lightworkers, starseeds who are here ready to make impact, more money on this earth and shift to the fifth dimension. Are you ready to ascend? Hello, beautiful soul tribe. Today is my first podcast and I'm so fucking excited. This has been something I've been wanting to do for the past 6 months. I first spoke to the beautiful man who has helped me create this, Nelson, and I said in February, I was like, I really want to create a podcast and I really want some help doing it. And now we've literally been able to bring it to life. So for those of you who are watching my YouTube right now, can you see that big sign behind here? This has literally been in the making forever. So I had the logo put together by my incredible team, and the logo was like, once I saw the logo, I was like, that's the fucking one. And quite literally had this sign built. We've had this beautiful man come and put it all together, and it's been a fucking bit of a headache, if I'm honest with you guys. It's taken a long day to create this. And anyway, we're here. I'll be bringing on some incredibly powerful entrepreneurs into this podcast, into this space so that you can learn. I will be piercing the quantum field so that you can upgrade, transform, and up-level your life. So today's episode is going to be a little bit about my story, a little bit about what I do, who I'm here to serve, all the juicy, wonderful things. So beautiful boys and girls, listen the fuck up. It's going to get wild. So for those of you who don't know me, I love to say that I'm an alien from the fifth dimension. And the reason for this is because many years ago when I had my spiritual awakening, I was really obsessed with learning about aliens. And I was really interested in talking about seeing starseeds and literally learning all different concepts about spirituality. And I was led down many rabbit holes. I don't know who here has been, followed the little white rabbit and gone down all the fucking rabbit holes. Anywho, I went down so many different rabbit holes and I started listening to Stephen Greer's stuff talk about aliens. And I was fascinated. And so I actually started researching all of Stephen Greer, watched all his podcasts, listened to all of his stuff on YouTube, watched all of his Netflix stuff, and he created this thing called CE 35 or something like that. It's an app. And what you can do is you can listen to his meditations and you collectively get around with a couple of different people and you sit and you meditate and you literally ascend, right? And the purpose of it is actually to connect to aliens. And I was fascinated by this. I was like, fuck, man, how has humanity, why aren't people talking about this more? And so I really want to deep dive into my spiritual awakening today, guys. So let's go further back. Okay. So I've shared on a couple of different podcasts a little bit about my journey, and we're going to get a little bit vulnerable today, so I hope that's okay. So when I was 17, my auntie died in a sudden car accident. Then a few months later, my grandfather died of cancer, and then my dad ended up having cancer. And within a space of 6 months, I literally suppressed all my emotions. I had no idea where to go, what to do. And of course, my family were all going through this massive emotional turbulence as well. And it was horrible. About a year or so goes past and I start partying and I end up doing a lot of drugs. And I was numbing myself, completely escaping. And at this point, I found ice and I became an ice addict. And for those of you who know, ice is such an addictive drug and it really did take over my soul. And I remember looking in the mirror once, and this is way before I was spiritual, guys. I looked into the mirror and I remember seeing like a demon in my reflection. and I was so fucking petrified. And there were days where I was up for like 6, 7, 10 days at a time, and I was literally going insane. One day I drove myself to the police station and I handed myself in, and my parents came and picked me up, and I tried to get off drugs several times, and mum and dad were like, fuck, should we put you in rehab? And I was like refusing rehab, and it was just like this really messy thing, and I felt so disgusted in myself that I had let my family down so much, and I felt so unworthy, and I felt so suicidal, and it was just like this fucking concoction of a mess that I had created. And I was pretty depressed off and on for a few years there. I was escaping with all sorts of drugs. Then I had a binge eating disorder, and really, truly, I felt so unworthy of even being alive. And there was a turning point in my life when I started an eyelash business. I think I had been sober for a few years now, and I was, on the straight and narrow, and I started an eyelash business, and I was with this partner, and I loved him, and everything was really good. And then we broke up, and I found out that there was another girl that was floating around, and it was just like really messy, and I was like, I can't believe this is my life. And I got really depressed again. And I was living alone at this point in an apartment. I just bought my little puppy, and I had this amazing eyelash business that I'd just grown. I think it's about 22 at this point. And this beautiful lady came in. Her name's Justine. Justine, shout out to you, babes, if you're listening to this. And she was like literally like this angel in my life. And she actually now lives on the Goldie, and we caught up a few months ago, and I was like, oh my God, babe. And I was like, you started this whole spiritual awakening for me. Thank you so much. And I feel like she was such a fucking massive piece of the puzzle for my spiritual awakening. And she said, babe, you need to start meditation. And I had contemplated it before. I had heard a lot of successful people say how to get out of anxiety and depression was meditation. And so I started meditating, and it was a really, really, really powerful thing because it stopped my chitter chatter in my mind, my monkey mind, right? And from there, another beautiful angel, Teresa, shout out to you, babe. These two ladies were both angels, and I believe, and they were both my eyelash clients. And Teresa actually said, babe, you need to read this book called The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein. Now, it wasn't the book that changed my life. It was the fact that I was open at that point to changing my reality. I was in such a fucking deep dark hole, lol, that anything was going to work, right? And so what I did, fam, was I started meditating, and then I read this book, and she talked about angels and connecting to your spirit guides and reading signs, and I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Now pause that story. Go back. When I was 17 and my auntie died in a sudden car accident, I remembered my auntie telling me when I was a little kid that she saw psychics, and I was like, what? Oh my God. And she was telling me these amazing stories. And so at 17 years old, I went and saw different psychics to try and connect to her. Now, I connected to her several times, and I was like on mission to literally talk to different psychics. And I remember this one lady looking at me, and she said, by the time you're 32, you are going to own such a mega successful spiritual business. And at this point, I was like, bitch, you're crazy. There's no way. And I thought 32 is so far away. Like at 17, you think 32 is old. You know that feelings. And then when you turn 29, you're like, so I'm actually like getting a little bit old. Yeah, okay. Anywho, so at 17, went on this quest, saw lots of psychics. She said this. So it was kind of like a seed that was like planted. And of course, I start to water it. And then of course I went on my dark path, and I kind of came back around. Anyway, now I'm 22, I'm meditating, and I'm like, oh, I remember that lady saying to me at 32 I was going to be really successful. Anyway, I'm like, that's still 10 years away. Fuck, that's ages away. Anyway, in that moment, I started seeing 1111 all the time, and I started researching, what does 1111 mean? Because I knew there was something more. I knew there was something more to it. And so I started watching YouTube, because back then, babes, there were no fucking podcasts. It was not a thing. So I was on YouTube. I started listening to Dolores Cannon, Abraham Hicks, Joe Dispenza, Aaron Doherty, and I was literally diving deep into anyone that I could listen to about spirituality. I started trying to speak to spirit guides, trying to speak to spirits, and I became so obsessed with meditation because it made me feel good that I would literally stop being so doom and gloom about the depression and actually started to live a more harmonious life. Now, there were still addictions that I was battling off and on until literally like 2.5 years ago. And really what happened in my spiritual awakening was I found this deeper connection to source, and I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. And I actually remember saying to my best friend at the time, I took her to this place called Moondog in Melbourne. We went and had a drink, and I remember saying to her, I want to start a YouTube channel and I want to talk about spirituality. Like, no girl in Australia is doing this. And now, literally, fast forward 5 years, here I am sitting in front of you right now, starting my own fucking YouTube channel. And I'm like, yes, I'm so proud of myself. And actually today, fam, when this sign actually came, like when we actually put the sign up, there's a video of me. I'm like bawling my eyes out. I'm like, oh my God, I created this. This is amazing. And I was in so much joy and love and gratitude of myself that I've created this. And the power that I have from within is so fucking cool. I'm amazing. I'm amazing. Everyone else, you're amazing too. Also, my new catchphrase is, don't forget, I'm amazing and so are you. That's going to be my new, I'm going to start saying that all the time, guys. So get used to it. Okay. So then fast forward, we're in COVID, right? At this point, I'm talking to spirit guides. I've got crystals. I'm doing tarot cards. Like, I'm playing with all the things. Most of my friends aren't spiritual. However, sometimes I can have conversations with them. They're kind of open to it or kind of not. I'd done a couple of Reiki sessions. I was kind of dipping my toe in. I was learning heaps of stuff. I was reading heaps of books, that sort of thing, right? Start of COVID, my spirit guides say to me, Nat, you need to go to the Gold Coast. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, I'm in COVID. Like, I'm in Melbourne, by the way, guys. I'm in like 8 p.m. curfew. I can't even fucking go down this. Can't even see my mum. How the fuck am I going to get to the Gold Coast? And so sure enough, my spirit guides are like, you have to leave tomorrow night. Like, tomorrow night's like cut off. And I was like, I wonder why. Anywho, of course, I call whoever I need to. And I had a really good girlfriend in Gold Coast at the time. And I said to her, well, she was actually living in Northern Rivers. So there was like a little bubble where the state borderline is from New South Wales to the Gold Coast. There's like a bubble that you could go between. So I called her and I was like, babe, can I come and live with you? She's living with these 2 other vegans at this point, and they're like hardcore vegans. By the way, guys, at this point, not vegan. And she said, if you come and live up here though, they're pretty hard, like they're pretty strict vegans. So you know, you have to abide by their rules. I live in their house and like they clean every Sunday morning. You know, they make their own vitamins. They live completely off the land. Like, everything they do is fully organic. Like, you have to live their rules. And I was like, you know what? I need a fucking bit of a break. Why not? Because you will know if you're living in Melbourne and you're from the sesh scene, you know how Melbourne gets sometimes. Bit of a sesh, couple of bags, here we go. You know, that was my normal life. But all my friends, all we did every single weekend was got bags. And all we did was go to festivals, go to parties, go to Revolver until fucking Sunday night. You guys know the story. If you live in Melbourne and you're from the Matrix, you know what's up. Okay. So, and now I like to call that my past life because I'm like, fuck, man. I'm so like, wow, I've been really, really sober now for like the last 2 years, which is amazing. Right. Okay. So fast forward, I forge a whole heap of documents. Don't tell anyone. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm now saying on public social media. Oops. So yeah. So anyway, forged my little way into Queensland. Thanks, Queensland government. Kidding. And then what I was able to do was sit in quarantine. And as I sat in quarantine, I literally was just like meditating my little bum off. All through COVID as well. I just like meditated, got super connected to my guides. And as I got out of the hotel, I drove up to where my friend's was and I went and saw her at her beauty salon. And as soon as I was sitting on her beauty bed, first time I'd seen her, right? Just gotten out of a 2-week lockdown, 2-week quarantine. And I said to her, babe, get up, there's an earthquake. And I'm like, run over to the door frame and I'm like, literally standing in the middle of the door frame. I'm like shaking. I'm like, girls, get up. There was 2 of my girlfriends there at the point. I'm like, girls, get up. There's an earthquake. And they're like, Nat, there's no earthquake. And I'm like, get the fuck up. You know, I'm like literally having a meltdown. And they're like, babe, there's no earthquake. And I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm literally losing it. I'm like, girls, can you feel that? And literally all over me was just like frequency. And I was like, what is going on? And I felt like I was going actually crazy. And one of the girls that I was with, so one of them was the vegan gal. Well, they're both vegans, but they were both the girls that I was about to live with, right? And one of them messaged her friend who's a psychic, and she was like, this is what happened to me when I became a psychic. And also, side note, one of the psychics that I saw when I was like 17 and 18, she also told me I was psychic. So that was also like a little plant that was seeded. And I also had this desire as I was going through my spiritual awakening to be psychic. Okay, so fast forward, now I'm in the Gold Coast at the beauty salon thinking there's an earthquake. My friends are like, you're a little bit crazy. I'm like, I think I am. And at this point, I'm like, all right, okay, I'm meant to clearly be here. This is like something fucking weird's happening. So I called my mum and I'm like, Mum, I think there's a frequency update. There's like something's happening. And by the way, guys, just so that you know, me and my mum are really close. I'm going to talk about my mum a lot. Shout out to my mum, Illy, because I know you're listening. And so also, Mum, one day you should come on the podcast. Oh my God, that's such a great idea. Okay, side note. So then I call my mum. I'm like, Mum, I think I'm going crazy. She's like, that's okay. She's like, surely this is meant to happen if you're going through a spiritual awakening. And I'm like, I don't fucking know. And my mum was just so calm. Mum was like, babe, I've got you. You're okay. You're safe. And I was like, thanks, Mum. So then I end up going and living with these incredible vegans who, it was literally like such a soul aligned contract that I had to go there to literally awaken to the next fucking Ascension! Dun, 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 the Ascension Codes. And it was so fucking cool. We went through lots of different conspiracies, talked about really conscious things, explored new healing modalities, talked about all things science, all things spiritual, all things quantum. And I learned a wealth of knowledge with these beautiful humans. And it was such a healing process too. They also took me through quite a lot of healing things that I needed to shift through. And then it was in that moment that I was like, I think I need to move here. So I'd met some other friends on Sala, Croatia a few years ago when I was traveling around Europe, and they lived in the Gold Coast. So I went over and saw them, and I was like, universe, if I'm meant to live in the Gold Coast, please show me a sign of a blue turtle. I was really specific, right? And I didn't tell them. Anyway, I'm catching up with them, hanging out with them, we're, having a laugh, blah, blah, blah. And then this girl was like, hey, Nat, come and have a look at my new towel. And she pulls out this towel, and this towel had like a whole lot of blue turtles on there. And I was like, oh my God, I'm meant to move to Queensland. And at this point I was like, I had a whole house of furniture in Melbourne. I had a beautiful car. I had a beautiful business that I'd spent 4 years creating, a massive lash empire, right? And I was like, I don't want to let that go. Like, this is my baby. But my spirit guides were like, Nat, you've got to move here officially. So that was it. I flew back to Melbourne. I sold everything within 6 weeks, trusted my spirit guides, fully surrendered. And then I moved to the Gold Coast. And I slept on these beautiful people's floor, literally on a mattress on a floor for months until I could find a house, because the housing market was so tight in the Gold Coast when I first moved here. And then literally I asked my spirit guides one day, I was like, spirit guides, I've been here for like 2 months sleeping on their beautiful floor. Please find me a fucking house. Like, you are the ones that told me to be here. So find me a house. Literally. There were people, like 100 people applying for a house. People spending 6 months up front, like paying 6 months up front just to get a house in Queensland. And I was like, fuck, man, I don't have that sort of money. So I literally go to this one inspection and I'm like, spirit guides, please, I want a 3-bedroom house. I want it to be fully furnished. I want it to be okay for my little dog, and I want to be able to do eyelashes there, right? And so sure enough, I walk into this house and no one else is there. The girl that is the real estate agent, she's a Kiwi and she has her lashes done. So I'm like, oh, babe, whereabouts in New Zealand you from? What's up? And then I was like, oh my God, who does your lashes? And we obviously we're in rapport, we're like friends. And then I was like, who else is coming to inspect the property? Like, there's normally like 100 people at these things. And she's like, oh, no one else wanted this house. And I was like, spirit guides, you cheeky little chimps. I love you. And I actually said to my spirit guides, bring me the house, please bring me the house. Like, this is what I want. I want this, and this. And please show me a sign of a blue turtle if it's meant to be my house. And of course, I then get to this house, this beautiful woman shows me through, and I'm upstairs, and there's a whisper in my ear, and in my ear it says, walk to the front of the house and open the blind. So I go down, I walk to the front of the house, I open the blind, and there it is, a picture hanging up of a blue turtle, and I start crying. I'm like, oh my God. And the lady says to me, are you all right? And I'm like, this is my house. And she was just like, what the fuck? And I said to her, obviously you're spiritual, or you wouldn't be here. She's like, yeah, I'm super spiritual. I'm really into manifestation. I was like, babe, me too. I literally asked my spirit guides to show me a sign of a blue turtle. This is my house. And look, there's a blue turtle. And she's like, oh my God, Nat, this is your house. Okay. And so that night I signed the paperwork and I moved in 2 days later. And from there, I started my lash business. I had influencers come and I did giveaways with people that had hundreds of thousands of followers. I did ads. I did litter box drops. I put my things into, I did everything. I did everything that I thought I was going to do in Melbourne. And by the way, when I sold my business in Melbourne, I had 126 people on my books. I had fucking a heap of clients, right? So I thought I could totally do that in the Gold Coast. And literally, I heard crickets. I had no one come in and I was like scratching my head. I'm like, what do you mean? I've just created this beautiful new space. I've just rebranded. It's amazing. I'm following a new accounts. Like I'm doing everything, universe. And then my spirit guides were like, you're not meant to be doing eyelashes. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, how am I going to have an income? Mind you, I'd just taken 2 months off work. And I was like, what am I going to do? Like my savings is getting lower and lower and lower, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm starting to freak out. I'm like, what am I going to do? And my spirit guides were like, you're meant to be doing Reiki. And I was like, what the fuck? Reiki. So then of course I was like, all right, fucking, how can I do Reiki? And I ended up going to a Reiki certificate, sitting there doing my Reiki, and I was so nervous. I was like, oh, I don't think I'm qualified to do this. And although I had been channeling energy now, I'd been literally feeling energy all through my body. I was rocking to feeling frequency all over me when I was meditating, and I was, this is actually before I started seeing spirit. So at that point, I was speaking to my spirit guides, and I also was channeling energy. That's the 2 gifts that I had unlocked at this point in my spiritual awakening, right? And by the way, guys, I'm still meditating every single day. That is the key here. The key was I plugged into meditation every single day. Rain, hail, or shine, no matter how I felt, I was always meditating. And yes, for those of you who want to know the question, I was meditating to guided meditations on YouTube. Best fucking thing ever. Yeah, so then I go to this Reiki certificate. I do this Reiki certificate. I put Reiki up on Facebook Marketplace for $40 and I get an influx of clients. I had 13 clients in a week, which is triple the amount of what I was getting with eyelashes. And I was like, okay. So I was shitting bricks my first Reiki client. I was so incredibly nervous. And I was actually really diligent. Reiki, when I got a Reiki in June, they said I had to do Reiki on myself for an hour every single day for 30 days. And I actually was super diligent and did that. And so I was confident with doing Reiki on myself and confident with channeling. However, was super channeling for myself, but really nervous to do it in front of other people. Mind you, I'd never even done a psychic reading in front of anyone. I was novice, fam. And this one girl came in and she said to me, Nat, you should speak light language. And I was like, oh my God, yes. So pause that story. About 3 years prior, no, I'm going to say 2 years prior, when I was at the very start of COVID, I remember watching these YouTubers and they were talking about light language and I was fascinated by it. And I watched it so many times and I tried so many times to speak it to the point where I actually got so frustrated. I was like, fuck this. I'm not fucking doing this anymore. It's clearly not working for me. Right? So then fast forward, I'm in this Reiki session. This random client says to me, I should start speaking light language. And at this point, I was living with my best friend, me and her were best friends for years. And we lived in Melbourne, we were in Melbourne, best friends. We moved up here, we lived together and we were very codependent. And at this point, we started to have a little bit of riffraff in our friendship. And she and I decided that that's it. She's moving out. We're going our own ways. And when I decided to actually not be friends with her anymore, the next day, literally all my gifts came online. So it was the biggest courage codes ever for me to actually say, actually, no, I don't want your friendship anymore because of the toxicity that it was. And I sent her so much love and I fucking love her and I miss her so much. And I knew at that point she wasn't right for my journey, right? She couldn't accept the change that I had. She didn't like who I was becoming. And quite frankly, the relationship just wasn't serving either of us. So I sent her so much love. And yeah, we were living in a house together. That next day I was like, right, that's it, I'm done. And of course, it was that same day that this lady had said to me, tomorrow, you should start speaking light language. So sure enough, the next day I'm sitting in meditation And I just set the intention to channel light language, and it was just literally like a tap turned on. It was just like, and I had tears of joy just like flowing through my body. Like I was just in so much joy. I can actually feel the frequency all over me as I talk about this right now. And there was like a welcoming home to myself that I felt. And I was like, wow, I'm actually a starseed. Like this is the first time I truly had believed, not just, you know, I'd heard about it on so many YouTubers talk about it, and so many different books talk about starseeds and lightworkers. And this is the first time I was like, wow, I'm actually a starseed. And then from there, I was like, wow, I can't believe I can do this. So I started videoing myself, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. I've got this gift. And I called my mum and dad, and I was like, Mum and Dad, look at what I can do. I can finally do light language. And I gave my dad a throat clearing activation, and I didn't even know I could do that until I spoke to my dad on the phone. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm actually so gifted. Then I called my best friend, and I was like, babe, you've got to come over here. I have to show you something. And then I started like light languaging her, and I started activating her, and she started to move her body. And I was like, oh my God, I've got a fucking real gift. And then literally for like 4 days straight, I had to download the codes of light language, and I literally could not stop doing light language. Like me going to the toilet, me walking my dog, I was consistently channeling light language, and I couldn't stop it. It was like I had to download a whole bunch of software in my whole body, and that was fucking wild, right? So then fast forward about a week after that, in the light language, I started seeing beings, and then I was like, wow, my eyes are open and I'm seeing beings. Like that's fucking weird. And then it was like I was in the car driving, and I looked to the right, and then there was a spirit that pulled up like on a horse. I should make this better context. A man on a horse in like a war suit literally comes next to me, and I'm looking over at him. I'm like, can anyone fucking see this? And I'm looking around at the other cars like, oh my God, this and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm literally psychic and I'm a medium. And I literally was like, whoa, my God, I've got all these gifts. And then I kind of freaked myself out a bit, and I was like, how do I put all this together? And then I ended up going to a festival, a Buschdorf, and I had this big crystal on my neck that I used to always wear, a big clear quartz. And I met this beautiful girl called Navi. Shout out to Navi, you babe. I love you, my crab sister. We call each other the crab sisters because we're both cancers. Crab, crab, crab. We literally call each other like, hey, crabby sister. She's like, hey, crab, crab. I'm like, crab, crab, crab. Anywho, so me and Navi meet, and I literally, you know, we're at a big bush off, there's thousands of people, and I'd hold my crystal and tune in and be like, Navi, I call her Navi, I call her Navi, I call her Navi. 2 minutes later, Navi taps me on the shoulder, hey babe, and I was like, fuck, we're connected. Mind you, just this random chick that I met at the festival. And I started to really realize at this festival, I was so psychic. And I was like already knowing things before it happened. I was like, this is wild. So of course I came home and I started doing more Reiki, and I was like, wow, I'm actually a gifted healer. And I remembered, I was like, maybe I should do something with these psychic powers. And I was starting to do light language all the time. So I started to incorporate my light language and Reiki together, and that was really powerful. So then fast forward, my mate calls me up one day and he's like, Nat, you really should do NLP. Like NLP is everything you've ever talked about. Like it's all the healing stuff that you're really interested in, and I think you would absolutely love it. And I was like, oh my God, bro, that sounds awesome. Put me onto whoever it is that you did the course with. So then, you know, I jump onto these people's page, I start learning about NLP, and I'm like, fuck, this makes so much sense. And then I was like, nah, it's too expensive for me. I don't want to do it. So at this point, my eyelash business wasn't doing very well, so I started Uber Eatsing because I was like fucking desperate for money. I was like, what am I doing with my life? Here I am being a really successful entrepreneur, and now I'm fucking driving Uber Eats. Oh, and also I started working at Platypus Shoes and I was managing Platypus Shoes years ago, so I knew the area manager. So I was like, hey man, can I have a casual job? They're like, yeah man. And then of course they laid me off because I wouldn't get vaccinated. That's okay. All things are perfect and meant to happen, right? So then one day I go to Kirtan. Guys, I love going to Kirtan. I sing Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna Hare, Hare Na Krishna. I fucking love the Hare Krishnas. They're my people, right? So I go to Hare Krishna like I do every Sunday, and I normally go, I sit at the back, sit literally alone, and I just go and sing and cry and love and joy and expansion, la la la, on my own. And at this day, there was no other seats available except next to this lady at the front. And I was like, oh, I do not want to sit at the front. So anyway, there's no other seats. So I go over and sit down, and she smiles at me. I smile at her, and we sing. And then she asks a really awesome question. And I never normally talk to people, but I said to her, that was a really great question. She asked our spiritual teacher at the time a question. And I was like, that's amazing. And her and I started talking, and then she said, yeah, I do NLP. And I was like, oh, cool. And she's like, I own an NLP school. And I was like, oh, my friend just told me that I needed to go there. What a synchronicity, right? So, of course, I go over to this NLP school. It changes my fucking life. And I'm like, wow, I'm a really gifted psychic. When I was in this NLP room, there was 126 people. My spirit guide said to me, Nat, you've got to speak on stage and you've got to speak light language. And I was like, oh my God, these people don't even know what light language is. They probably think I'm fucking crazy. And it was the biggest courage in the world to go and do that. And I also knew that if I was going to do that, I was going to be known for it. And at that time, I was like, well, I believe in what light language is. I believe in the frequency. I believe in helping humanity. And I know that I'm a healer. So, okay, this is the right step for me. I wanted to fucking shit my pants, by the way, guys. I was so fucking nervous to speak on stage. Oh my God. Anyway, I did NLP. Then I hated NLP for a bit. Then I was like, I'm not going to be a coach. This is fucked. I don't want to do this. That was October, not last year, the year before. Then I was in another coaching container at this point. I had then done a meditation certificate and a life coaching certificate and a couple of other things. And this mentor that I had at the time, shout out to Lauren, love you, babe. She's also one of my besties. Love you, babe. And she said, you have to post your business tonight. And it was the 11th of the 1st, the 111. Yes, I'm spiritual. Woo. And I ended up posting this incredible business. I was super, super, super nervous to do it. And even to the point where I had my ex-boyfriend, like he had to post it for me because I was like shaking. I was like, I don't want to do this. And I spent so much time creating a website and creating all my Instagram. And there was just so much, right? So he posted it for me. I put my phone on airplane mode and I had mixed messages. Some people being like, oh my God, Nat, I had no idea you're a psychic. Because also for 6 months, I had deactivated my social media because when I broke up with that friend that I was living with, that I was codependent with, that I was best friends with for like 4 or 5 years, I actually had to go through a huge breakup. Like I've really went through a big breakup and I got myself off social media because I was like, I'm disconnecting with that world. I'm disconnecting from anyone that has anything to say about me. And I'm just like, I'm done. I know my truth. I know who I am, and whatever is in between is perfect for them and perfect for me, right? So I got off social media, and so then I came back out, came out of the womb on social media, and I was like, bam, here I am. So I posted me having like party girl vibe festival outfits on my Instagram. I deleted all of those and I came out fresh, was like, I'm spiritual, I'm a psychic, I've moved to the Gold Coast, right? And people were like, what the fuck? People in Melbourne, some people were like, what the fuck? How can you say that you're a psychic? Other people were like, Nat, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. And it made me really realize then, who are my real friends and who are just people that are fuckwits, right? And I was like, cool, I get to dump the fuckwits and I get to like really become friends with these beautiful humans who are supporting me. And then I started coaching people out of anxiety and depression because I was really strongly passionate about that because of the previous, life that I had with all the addictions and everything. So last year I built my business to multi-six figures with helping people out of trauma. And I called myself a trauma release and spiritual coach because I really wanted to help other people that went through their spiritual awakening that was really fucking felt alone like I actually did. I wanted to help people transition. And so it was a fucking beautiful transformation that I went through last year. And then of course, at the end of last year, I had so many amazing entrepreneurs ask me, Nat, how have you done so well? Nat, how have you had so many people in your business? And I was like, babe, I can help you. And as a really low ticket, I started helping all these people grow their business. And I was like, fuck, I actually could be a business coach. Then I was like, oh, I actually love business. And I really genuinely have helped so many people start businesses. Of course I could be a business coach. And so November last year, I went through a massive breakup with a partner. And I loved him so dearly. And when we broke up, I ended up going to Bali and taking some time and really feeling the feels of a breakup, of course. And in that, I went to a temple one day and I was in a sound bowl, like healing, and this guide came to me and he said, follow the whispers, this is your next mentor. And of course I was in Bali with this incredible woman, and her and I started working together, and she helped me create and map out some of my events. And I was like, I really want to start teaching, spirit guides, and I really want to start speaking about angels and different dimensions. And I'm like really passionate about helping people find their mission and their soul's purpose. And so I created this event called What's My Mission? And the purpose for it is for all starseeds to know their purpose so that they can live a more fulfilled life. And in this moment, my heart expanded, and I was like, oh my God, I know my soul's mission on a bigger scale. And I came back to Australia, got a house, and by the way, guys, context, I was traveling Australia last year with my ex-boyfriend. We broke up whilst we were traveling. I went to Bali, then came back, got a house. Cool. So then at this point, I run a massive event, and then I'm like, right, I'm starting to sell business coaching now. And I literally do such an amazing month, had my biggest month ever in January. And then I was like, wow, I really want to be a multimillionaire this year. And I had mapped out, I had forecasted for the year for what events I was going to run and what programs I was going to run and all the beautiful bits and pieces. Then I hired another mentor, and I've currently got 4 mentors at the moment. And I really was able to leverage up my business so much, and by word of mouth, by my spirit guides, I've literally been able to build such a successful business. And so I wanted to create this podcast to show you all how to ascend. Through my whole entire experience over the last 18 months of running my business, I've been able to ascend consistently. From 5 or 6 years ago when I started meditating, I started to ascend so much. And now my biggest teachings is around the 5th dimension, how we can live in the 5th dimension so that we can create an incredible fucking powerful life that we live, that we feel free within, so we're fully plugged out of the matrix, so that we can fully talk about wealth in a harmonious way, so that we can actually start shifting our mindset into looking at different streams of income. I've recently just started a VA agency, and I haven't even posted about it. I've had it live for 3 weeks, and I've just had to hire 3 more team members. And it's because all I've done is follow the whispers of my spirit guides. My spirit guides said to me, Nat, you're going to own a VA agency. So sure enough, 3 weeks later, I made it happen. And now I haven't even posted about it. And I think we're at like 11 or 12 clients. And I've now I've got 6 VAs that are working in my agency, and it's only going to grow. We've got incredible systems and portals and everything else in place. And it's amazing how quickly you can build an incredible business by finding the power from within. And this is what I did, guys. I found the power from within. I realized that I was so fucking worthy once I had cleared out all of my trauma, once I had cleared the programming of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy because of someone else. And I let so many fucking other people dim my light, because for so much of my life, people have told me, Nat's such a big personality. Oh, Nat's so loud. Nat's so blah, blah, blah. And I had always listened to them. So sometimes I'd like shut up in a space because I didn't want to be too much, right? Fuck that. Be all of you. We are multidimensional beings having a human experience. So what does that mean? Boys and girls, I'm going to take you on a journey. This podcast is created for people to go through the ascension journey. So I'm really excited. Thanks for listening to my first podcast. Links are all down below. So follow the podcast at the Ascension Codes _. And if you want to learn more about me and my incredible business that I have, it is Natalie Paterson Coaching. Paterson is with 1 T, by the way, guys. If you want to learn more about how to work with me, go to my Instagram, look in my bio, see the incredible programs that I'm currently running. If it is for you and you feel the pull, baby girl, baby boy, let's work together. Send me a DM. Thank you, beautiful starseeds. I have channeled through 2 incredibly powerful and potent group coaching programs. One is for the entrepreneurs who want to get to consistent 10K months, learn everything that I have in the systems in the back end of my business, how I've helped other entrepreneurs scale to 10 and 20 and 30K months, how I've been able to cultivate so much certainty in my business by my spiritual tools, my spiritual gifts, and also the strategies and the structure to actually making your goals a real reality. So that is business container 1, taking you quantum, baby. It's called reclamation of the soul's purpose. The second business container is called cash codes and clients. This is for all the entrepreneurs who are already at, that 20, 30, 40K months, and they are wanting to scale beyond multi 6 figures and 7 figures. This is strategy, structure, spiritual fucking woo-woo codes, 5th dimension. There is 3 live events and 9 months of full support of me channeling in your business. If you would like to learn more, the links are down below. Both options have payment plans, finance available, and also pays in fulls, of course. Babes, if you want to work with me, if you feel the call to work with me and learn more about my magic, please DM me now at Natalie Paterson Coaching or the Ascension Codes _.